Hey guys, so after we've looked at the trending currencies, where the power is, the power currencies, where the big money is flowing, where the smart money is flowing, now we look at, okay, well, group those together. Now we look at, are there any potential trade setups? Are there are there any pullbacks to these trends, right? So that, because that's where you want to go. You want to trade the pullbacks because you get a better deal. You look for those swings, and you get more bang for your buck, a higher risk to reward. It's all about risk, right? So those are the areas where you can set up for the lowest amount of risk relative to the potential profit gain on those. And if you don't know how to look for power currencies or how to gauge where the trending markets are, then watch my last video on how I look for power currencies and look for where the smart money is flowing. So after that though, we noticed that, or we found out that Aussie is strong and then USD is weak. So that's where a lot of the power is going. And I look at the majority, right? The four out of seven that are power, that show where the power is at. I focus on those ones and I look at, okay, well, are there any trade setups there? Are there any pullbacks? So I start with Aussie CAD, start from the top, looking at Aussie CAD. So I look at I look at sort of the pattern, right? The pattern on how these traders have moved. Okay, so I look at that and I look at when it touched here, so last touch. So I drew a bit of a trend line to see, okay, well, use it as a guide, as like, okay, well, where potentially could these traders react? I don't use it as like a hard, okay, well, if it hits this trend line, that's it, I'm putting everything in, I'm going in. No, I look at, okay, well, once it hits this trend line, what is the price action? So I look at the price action of what happened the last time it hit this trend line here, right? So we see here, we see prices reverse. It reversed quite quickly and we had a bit of a hold, right? So potential trade there. I look for the holds. Where can we enter, right? Where is a decent sort of hold? So we see here and I look at, okay, well, we had a strong move from these sellers. We saw a swing. We saw another lower low being made. We saw the swing back. No new low being made here, right? So that tells me, okay, well, okay, so something's changing, right? Seeing a bit of a sideways movement. In fact, I'll zoom in a little bit more to give you a better idea. Bit of a sideways movement. We could see no new lows being made. Okay, and that's a sign that we could potentially see some buyers coming in. So this could potentially be a trade setup. It's a little bit riskier because yes, it looks like that on the 1 hour, but on the 4 hour, there we go. Where are we? Right here, right? On the 4 hour, yeah, that's a high, but these guys could come back and make a low. In this case, they didn't, but they did. They tried, right? They couldn't, and that could potentially be a trade setup later on. Later on, as prices pulled back here, especially so no need to have so in this case, yeah, sure, you probably would have got a bit of FOMO, thinking, oh, okay, I missed it, but then these guys came back and in fact they held again, giving a second chance, and then they took off a little bit later on, right? Then that train took off, the bullet train took off right there, right? So yeah, bit of a hold here. So that's what I look for. I look for that price action and see, okay, well, how are we looking now? Are we seeing a bit of a pullback? And if we if we look more recently, we are seeing somewhat of a pullback, right? A decent sized pullback, especially relative to the move up. This is almost like textbook type of pullback here. So what I look for is the momentum up, and I look for how much time it's taken for sellers to come in and take up that price. And it looks like it's taken a lot longer. Like you can see here, in terms of time, it's taken 12 hours. It took 12 hours to make that move up. And then from that top, it's taken about 3 days for prices to move down lower. Now we're still seeing new lows being made. This is actually potential trade setup. Even though price isn't hitting this level, it could, but at the same time, we're seeing traders react at this major price level too, right? This sort of swing level. Prices coming down, major base being made with these buyers coming in, making a new high, and now we're seeing a bit of a gradual pullback, right? But no trade yet. I would wait to see, okay, well, we still made lower lows. Yes, we've kind of come up and almost taken out this swing, but I want to see the reaction. Now we're seeing that reaction from the sellers to see, okay, well, how far will they go? Will they still make a new low, and will they go further? So no trade just yet. Keep an eye out though. So when I do see a trade setup, I make another list. I basically make list on list on list. So I put another list called zone. I call it zone in. You could call it whatever you want. Maybe like, you know, setups, or, you know, A plus setups. You can grade them by letter grades or stars or whatever you want, whatever works for you. But I call this zone in. Makes kind of for pairs to zone in on and look at, okay, well, where's the price movement going? How's the price action going to look? Basically is what I look for. Over here, pound Aussie, you can see it ranging there, but you can see that, okay, well, we had a new low being made. We'll wait for the swing, especially since this is really, really low. Like, okay, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, you could argue 5, 6 kind of days where prices have gone lower and lower. Well, technically not here. They haven't gone lower since then. But, you know, it's a pretty extended move, and I like to wait for the pullback, especially here, since, you know, you could argue that this is a move up, and then we're starting to hold, right? We're seeing a bit of a hold here. Traders accumulating their orders. We could see traders move prices down, and it could go further down, but it's a lower percentage setup, in my opinion. I would rather wait for that swing high, get a better price, and then look for signs of prices rolling over. That way, I get a better opportunity. I can get a much better risk to reward setup from there, right? So nothing yet. I'll still wait for this to set up. So no list being made yet. Over here, we saw a big move here. We're starting to see a bit of a pullback, right? Decent sized pullback, but we're still seeing lower highs, lower lows being made on the other side. So nothing yet. Wait and keep an eye. Maybe we'll see these guys go further and further and further and take price down to maybe this price level here. Maybe it'll take a few days. Maybe it'll take a day. Who knows how long it'll take? But, you know, for now, no trade setup, especially since we're still seeing lower lows. Still seeing some strong counter move trending going on, or sorry, counter trend movement going on. Here, not much of a trade setup yet. We're seeing some consolidation, especially since we're nearing a major price level here, a big key level where sellers have come in real strong. This is a bit of if I put a trade in, it's a little bit on the riskier end. I'd rather wait for a deeper pullback, maybe a pullback around this trend line, and then we'll see how price action is if these buyers come in and start to roll price over. And just to kind of gauge and look at what's happened in the past, I look at, okay, well, how did these traders come in last time? This kind of tells me how traders could come in next time. One of the possibilities that traders can come in, right? So they came in, and then the strong push up, and then that pullback, right? So we see the pullback. So whenever you see a strong push, a strong movement, that looks kind of new. That doesn't follow the norm, especially when it's taken out so many of these candles. You want to look at, okay, well, how do the traders react? How does that party react? Counter move party react, right? So we see a big move up. Okay, so we see it's almost similar to the way down. So it's kind of hard to gauge. Okay, so same kind of strength. It's hard to gauge here, but then we see these buyers come back in. Now we're seeing a bit of a hold. Once you see that hold, then you want to pay attention, and you could potentially put in a trade. So we could have put in a trade here with a stop loss, you know, like beyond the recent low, maybe a little bit further, and you can see trade starts to take off. It takes its time, but it takes off eventually from there. But for now, no setup just yet, especially since we're nearing a key level. A lot of consolidation going on. If prices break above, then maybe I'll wait for the pullback of that. We could see a deeper pullback, right? So I would wait for a deeper pullback, wait and see how traders react. Again, just looking for that counter trend movement going on. Nothing quite yet though. Here, same thing. Yes, we've broken above this sort of key level here, but you know, we're kind of ranging here. We're having some consolidation, especially since we've had quite a few days of up moves. I would rather wait for a pullback day, a move down, you know, better price, better deal type of thing. So that's on the Aussie side. So nothing. So maybe one potential trade setup, but nothing quite yet. Pound USD, same thing. We're nearing this key price level here. We're seeing a bit of chop going on in this area, quite a bit of choppiness going on. You can see here I put in a trade right around this level. I saw the pullback coming in fairly decently. In fact, I'll show you how I got into this trade. A little bit of an insight, a little bit of a bonus. But yeah, so we saw this new low being made, and then these buyers came in fairly decently, pretty strong. I wanted to see, okay, what's the reaction to that, and very gradual, very gradual pullback. I was tempted to get in here, but I thought I'd put my price a little bit lower to see, okay, well, maybe these sellers will come in and try and push the price lower one more time. And looks like they couldn't, and then they kind of pushed up, and then these buyers came in here. In fact, if you say we go on to the 15-minute and look at that even further, you could see, okay, well, these sellers kind of came in and not as much. I mean, if you go to the 5-minute, you can get even deeper and deeper, but yeah, as far as that goes, I just go to the 15-minute. You can even put in a limit entry order here. So quite a few opportunities, quite a few places to put in some orders and kind of gauge and sort of risk that and make an educated guess. Edge with an EDGE, and then Q-tape, just confused me even more. But yeah, so again, so now we're ranging in this area, so not much of a trade setup. You could put something here. I did put in a trade here, thinking, okay, well, maybe it'll go through. We saw a big price move up, but looking back, not much of a pullback. It's a bit on the riskier side, so I cut this trade out, not really performing as I would anticipate. This was kind of like somewhat of an error type trade, but luckily I was able to get out and scratch this at break even. So anyways, yeah. Other than that, not much of a setup just yet. Same thing here. Looks very choppy, some consolidation going on. Key price levels being reached, so potential sellers just reacting and taking price lower. Here we got a bit of a decent setup the way we're pulling back, especially considering last time it was a choppy pullback. You could see a lot of wicks, a lot of tails, a lot of noise going on there. But how we're looking now is fairly decent, especially now, right? So we're seeing new lows. You'd have to sift through. Anyways, you have to cut out the noise. So if you look past the noise, there's a lot of noise going on here. In fact, I'll take this out so it's not as confusing. See this up move here, but then how prices have taken out. Even if you look here, actually, let's go to the 1 hour to give you a better idea. See, we're still making lower highs, lower lows. See these swings, these swings being made, but the pullbacks, let's say the higher lows are getting a bit deeper, right? A bit deeper. But so we'll wait on this, wait and see. So potential trade setup. I like to put this on the zone, so I put this in the zone in there. We've got a potential setup, but nothing yet. Right, this price could just take off and go further, but if you look at the longer term, that's why I like the longer term. It gives you a better idea that, okay, well, it is trending up. We just have to see, is there a potential area where we could put in a trade, right? Same thing here. We're trending down, nice downtrend. Seeing some choppiness over here. So in terms of trade setup, nothing quite yet. A lot of choppiness, especially on the 4 hour. So, if I were to put in a trade, it'll take some time. We could potentially reach in this area, especially with this trend line going on. Could see some price action and then traders take price down and shoot it down further. This could be an area where sellers are potentially loading up their trades. It could also be an area where buyers are potentially loading up their trades to take it to the other side. But for now, we're seeing some nice moves, especially when we near this type of trend line. And you want to see the price action there. So for example, if we look at this trend line, if we see, okay, well, how did traders react there? You can see a lot of the times they just react really violently, very suddenly. Would have been hard to get in a trade. Maybe you would have been able to come in at this pullback as prices were pulling back, and then boom, we take it down further. Potential setup there. So you can see here, a lot of the trades, a lot of the movement was very harsh, right? Very, very sudden. You know, it would have been hard to kind of get in on those, especially when you see momentum coming up real strong. And then you could argue that, okay, well, this is a pullback to this up move here. And then as these traders came up, well, sellers thought no and then pushed price down. So if price was to move and keep going down, it might be one of those real sudden chop moves. So this is one of those where potentially it'd be a slightly higher risk trade where you'd have to put in a limit entry, just a limit entry right there, and as soon as it touches, it enters, and then maybe traders will take it down further. So it might be one of those. So I'd like to put this on the setup, the zone and setup for now, and see. Gold here, okay, so we're trending up to the upside, and we've had some decent pullbacks, some days where it looked really clean and being like, okay, well, we'll know where to get in, especially here, we know where to get in, especially including when we go here, we see, okay, well, couldn't make a new low, started to hold a bit, and then especially with the volume here, a big increase in volume, and then traders took this price higher. We're seeing here now, every time it's hit this level, we're making higher highs, right? So we're still making higher highs, a fairly decent base. So it's an interesting sort of setup. It's kind of like, you could argue it's kind of like a sort of inverted or flipped kind of wedge, you could say. But yeah, so here I placed a trade. I got a trade in here to see, okay, well, we're holding, right? We're kind of getting a bit of a range, a bit of a consolidation. We could see prices go up, but you know, with this big volume, this increase in volume, this could be sellers coming in and taking price lower. Who knows, right? So anyways, that's what I look for, and those are the potential setups that are on the horizon there, that we have. But yeah, I look for the major, I look at the major trending pairs. And again, if you want to know how to look for those pairs or look for where the power is, where the smart money, the big money is going, and check out my last video. But other than that, this is what I look for. I focus on these ones. There are others that I also look at, some potential setups, but I won't go through those. I don't want to make this video too long, just kind of want to focus on the key essentials. Oh, USD Swiss. So let's look at USD Swiss, because that's also part of USD. Is there a potential trade setup? Not really. Yes, we're trending down, but it's getting very, very choppy. So nothing there, nothing to put in on the zone in list. So if we go to the zone in, I included some other pairs there, but for the most part, you know, we got these to look at. So once you look at those, then you wait and look at, well, where are the potential setups coming in, and where are those pullbacks, when are those pullbacks going to be rolling over, and then you look at placing an order and getting an order in. All right, so anyways, hope that helps, and stay tuned for the next video on you know, looking at how to set up for these trades and go from there. All right, cheers.